Major global brands shell out millions of dollars to attach their names to the Olympics and often reap the benefits of its worldwide exposure.
But with international outrage building over Russia's new anti-gay laws, could the 2014 Winter Games be a bust for sponsors? Here to break it down is U.S. business correspondent Andrew Smertz. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
Hi, Andrew. Okay, so the Winter Olympics kick off in the Russian town of Sochi in February. But again, these series of anti-gay laws, it's causing a real international controversy.
It's an international incident now, and this issue is gaining momentum. And I think it's starting to catch some of the sponsors a little bit off guard. I don't think they thought that this was going to create such a backlash. So what is happening here in Russia is over the past few months, they passed a series of what gay rights activists say are severe restrictions on gay rights. A lot of it has to go with speech, what could be said, what could not be said. As you know, Olympic athletes tend to be very vocal. And so
they
now,
use that platform.
And they use that platform
and it
to
can
make
be very political.
To make statements and make political statements. So now the responses come in, and there's been some significant pushback and calls for boycotts, calls for Russia to change its policies.
So what are some of the restrictions for prohibiting people from doing?
Well, basically the laws, from what I understand, center on speech, on talking about gay rights issues, on what they call gay propaganda.
Gay propaganda. Okay.
And so there is concern among the athletes that, one, they could put themselves in legal jeopardy by just being there, or two, that they could be the subject of violence because gay violence in Russia is on the rise, obviously, because of these laws.
Well, let's talk about sponsorship. I mean, there are a lot of brands who want to be on the right side. They want to be politically correct. And in the U.S., anti-gay laws do not exist at all. We've just passed DOMO and all these other major, Supreme Court rulings. So how are they feeling about this?
And the brands attached to the Olympics have tended to be really pro-gay rights brands.
Okay.
So, for example, NBC and General Electric, Coca-Cola, Nike, all of these Olympic brands have in the past been supporters of gay rights. So now they kind of find themselves in a little bit of an issue here.
Yeah, they're in a precarious position.
What are you going to say? So General Electric, for example, has given what I would call a rather tepid response, saying, we support human rights everywhere. And that we intend to continue to promote human rights, but at the same point, they're not exactly saying they're going to withdraw support. NBC Universal, which is broadcasting the games, issued a statement, and we have a copy of that statement here. NBC Universal strongly supports equal rights and the fair treatment for all people. The spirit of the Olympic Games is about unifying people and countries through the celebration of sport, and it is our hope that the spirit will prevail. In other words, NBC basically said nothing.
Right. Because they're going to still show the Olympics.
They're still going to show the Olympics. They have billions of dollars invested in the Olympics. And they probably don't have a lot of pull here. Russia has dug its heels in. Vladimir Putin says these laws are not going to change. Interestingly, a man running for mayor in Moscow has said he is going to change the laws, that he wants to change the laws. He was recently indicted.
Wow.
So it's not a particularly friendly environment right now these days in Russia.
Have any
we all know
sponsors,
Putin runs that. Come on, please.
Have any of the sponsors threatened to officially pull out yet?
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
None of the sponsors, none of the big sponsors have threatened to pull out. There have been some calls for boycotts from stars and some athletes.
George Takei has been very vocal.
Yeah, George Takei has been very vocal. He says that the games should be moved to Vancouver. 320,000 people have signed a petition on change.org, which is the White House's website, saying that the games should be moved to Vancouver. The games are not going anywhere.
I was going to say, realistically, at this point, logistically, it's impossible.
And it never has happened.
Okay.
There will be no U.S. boycott of these games.
That was
Obama.
going to be my next question. What about just boycotting the games? What are people saying about that?
Well, so first, for the United States to boycott the games, President Obama says that's not going to happen. The last games we boycotted was in 1980 when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. It is widely considered a disaster for Olympians. It is just brutally unfair for the athletes. And gay athletes have said that. Robbie Rogers, who plays for the Los Angeles Galaxy, is an openly out soccer player and has said there should be no boycott, that it impacts who it's going to hurt are the athletes. Others disagree. Wentworth Miller, who's the actor from Prison Break, has said that he was invited to speak at the games, and he says he's not going.
Yeah, and he used that opportunity to come out of the closet.
And he can't use that opportunity to be public and come out of the closet. Interestingly, the actors are saying these things, but the athletes are not. I mean, I think the athletes want to go and perform. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And there's a lot of money attached to them for the winners.
While some people
really? How much on average?
Well, if
endorsements,
you're Michael Phelps,
That's a nice check.
Well, some people may
swim
not
a few
be.
laps, and
Yeah, you got
you're
enough
set
money
for
there.
life.
Some people may not be boycotting the actual Olympics, but I know some people are planning to boycott sponsors like vodka. People are planning to do big vodka protesting and boycott.
Yep, and that's actually a very high-profile idea to boycott Russian vodka. Russia is known for its vodka,
Yes.
sells a ton of vodka, drinks a lot of vodka. And so that might be a high-profile way of making a message.
It's like freedom fries when people protested French fries. Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly think boycotts of any sort, and I think in this one, are going to have an economic impact. But what they've done is they've elevated this issue out there on the stage, and I think we're going to hear more and more of it. Russia is pretty stubborn, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any back down. They kind of go back and forth on whether athletes are at risk. They say we're going to have a safe zone for the Olympic athletes, and then they say, but at the same time, you have to respect our laws, and you have to watch what you say. So I think they're sending
very
some
nebulous.
very nebulous. I think they're sending some very mixed messages.
So do you think that openly gay athletes will have anything to worry about?
They're worried. They're worried about some legal issues. They're worried about violence. Who knows? Are they going to get arrested? I don't think Russia's going to create an international incident.
That's true.
But they may not be as protected.
You never know.
You never know, and they may not be as protected as they should be.
So what's the International Olympic Committee saying? What's the IOC saying about
So
all
They get
this?
the final word, right?
The IOC they get the final word. They're not going to boycott. They're not going to change where the Olympics are. They have come out with the same nebulous statements where we support human rights, blah, 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 blah. But they report to the sponsoring country to a large extent. There's a tremendous amount of money at stake. And I think Russia has put this issue in a very difficult position. It's possible that Russia didn't expect this. It's possible Russia doesn't care. It's possible Russia did this knowing that they're getting the Olympics and that they're going to stick their thumb in the face. This is a very aggressive government.
It's true.
So who has the most to lose and win in this situation?
I think the athletes have the most to lose at the end of the day. The athletes get caught in the middle here. They're kids who want to perform, and at the same time, what are they supposed to do? Most of them probably support gay rights in many issues, many ways. In fact, interestingly, the NHL players who have a large Russian contingent in the Olympics and play here in the NHL. Several NHL players, non-Russians, have come out strongly against the Russian policy. The Russian players have been very quiet, probably for fear as well as what happens when they go back home. What happens goes to their families. It's going to be interesting to see when those NHL players who perform in the Olympics, what their response is going to be, because they've already become very vocal. The NHL has become very vocal as an organization, and the players have become very vocal, but not the Russian players.
So at the end of the day, financially, will this have a major effect on the finances of the Olympics?
I don't think it's going to have any effect on the
So it's
on the
more
Olympics.
symbolic
I think it's
than
symbolic.
anything.
I don't think boycotts tend to work. You're not going to stop buying Coca-Cola right now. But I think it's symbolic, and it raises the publicity, and that's what people want. They don't want to boycott. They want to change the policy.
Right. Okay.
Well, we'll see if it works. Thank you
The
very much.
Olympics have been in a lot of countries with a lot of bad issues through the years.
That's
okay,
true.
you know, you
We had our own issues here for a very long time.
Exactly.
So,
no one's happy, and that's what the Olympics are supposedly about, that you put your swords down and stop fighting, right? But these issues come to the forefront.
Andrew, thank you very much. Great advice.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.